Hello everyone, my name is John Kerrigan, and I'm an environmentalist from the Union of Concerned Scientists. My colleagues and I have recently heard about the Half-Earth Project and would like to apply it to our town of Conway, Arkansas. This project is a process of turning half of our city into a conservation area. The purpose of this project is to increase local species diversity by increasing their habitat to what the biologist and creator of the Half-Earth Project, E.O. Wilson, says is a safe and acceptable level. He states that if half of Earth's habitats are preserved, then this mass extinction will cease, with 85% of all fauna being able to survive in the current habitat. My colleagues and I have created a map of Conway highlighting where we would preserve the lands. The places we chose are mainly covered areas. The only differences my team and I would foresee changing is adding more native Arkansan flora to increase the natural biodiversity of the area. While this idea may seem rather daunting, we are actually closer than you may think. Much of the work is making what is already public land into preserved land. This land is to remain undeveloped and undisturbed from large human activity. What this means is that people may still visit these areas as campers or hikers, but the land will not be able to be exploited for natural resources or have permanent structures built on the land. In addition, human activity that is deemed to be greatly disturbing to plant and animal life will also be prohibited. Here we have our proposed map of half Conway. As you can see, we have tried our best to keep areas we intend to preserve away from downtown and central Conway. This is to reduce unnecessary interferences with local businesses, and because the areas surrounding Conway are substantially greener than the parts closer to the center of the city. We also keep the green areas as connected as possible to give species living in the protected areas room to roam around without the risk of encountering people. The benefits of the Half-Earth Project are that we would have a more aesthetically pleasing environment that would promote well-being, more ecotourism, and biodiversity. This project will help reduce habitat loss and species decline. Half Conway also serves as a way to promote Conway's cultural identity. In addition, if there are parties who can prove that Half Conway has diminished their livelihood or income, they will be monetarily compensated for their losses.
So, why did you choose those areas in the middle that are not connected?
These areas right here and here are closer to central Conway because we figured that it would be a good idea to have a place where where we can have a public sort of park for Conway citizens to enjoy. And these areas would serve more as like a high traffic area of the Half-Earth Project, so we can have community events and other outreach programs that really highlight Half-Earth and Half Conway.
What do you feel would be the hardest part of starting up the corridor?
That's a really good question. I would say the hardest part is just the initial setup of figuring out exactly where we want to put our land as preserved, because this is only a sketch. This is just a rough map of what we want to use. So a lot of our work that's cut out for us is just getting the project approved by city council members and the mayor, things like that. And in addition, just public support, so they know that why we're doing this and what benefits it provides to the environment and to Conway.
What benefits do you think could occur from this corridor?
That's another really good question. So there are a lot of species in Arkansas that are kind of diminishing because of how our plants are in Conway. Like, we are substituting the natural species of plants in Conway for more foreign ones that the local animals can't eat or use. And so by planting in more of these native species, that will boost up the amount of local population of animals that are able to now use these habitats to survive. And we're also just preserving a lot of areas for them to live and thrive. And since they're all so connected, they're not at risk for, human contact, which for animals that walk on the ground, that's a lot of times when they try and cross a highway, that's very devastating for their population because a lot of animals just end up as roadkill. And so these preserved areas really give them a safe place to live and thrive. All right, and now we can hear from the educational benefits from Tajay, so take it away.
My name is Tajay White. I'm an educator and researcher.
How are you and your group members planning on marketing the project, and how are you planning on generating interest in the project?
So first of all, we'll be hosting an annual Conserve Conway Day, with the main event being a 5K run, which supports the endangered bunting bellbird species. This will allow us to have a main event and raise awareness for this highly endangered species and kind of use it as our mascot.
What benefits can Half Conway bring to Conway?
Not only will this raise awareness for the bell bunting bird, but it will raise awareness for our project as a whole, in which we will be presenting at Half Conway Day as well. We will use the attention to the big events and city gathering to our advantage and have tents set up that will be filled with students from Hendrix College, UCA, Central Baptist College. There will also be students from Conway Christian and Conway High School to help pass out our brochure. In the brochure, a map of our conservation area will be included as well as our species that will be highlighted. We're hoping that Half Conway Day will reach out to the young people of Conway and make more college students want to help us conduct research and spread the word about our project. Our conservation map will look a lot like this. Blue areas being what we're conserving of Conway. The benefits this would bring is the ability for half of Conway to recover in its green areas and for species to go through natural recovery. Allowing the land to gather itself and allowing species and plants to repopulate and get their numbers back up would benefit Conway greatly. Because the city is very business heavy. What I mean by that is that there aren't very many green areas in Conway. So protecting the ones that we do have is key to keeping Conway's balance. The Half Conway project also gets community involved. It makes Conway a tight-knitted green thumb community that will have room for business, therefore it will improve population. Because research shows that everyone wants to live in a community where they feel like they can ask their neighbor for a stick of butter, but also have job options. With that being said, community involvement is really a big factor with this project. But in order to get the community involved, we have to educate them. No one is going to buy into a process that they have no knowledge on. So that also brings us back to our Half Conway Day. There will be people there to help educate the public on this idea and why it should happen, and also compare Conway to a city in Fresno, California. If we were to not take action with the Half Conway project, we increase our risk to be at a greenhouse gas rate close to Fresno's. This wouldn't only decrease the health of the plants and animal species, but it would also decrease the population and shoot our goal down of bringing our endangered species back. On top of that, this would affect the physical health of our population if this were to happen. Fresno currently sits at 44% of their population visiting the ER due to asthma attacks, and a lot of it is because of the greenhouse gas rates caused by increase in population, which leads to industrialization. With there being no balance, we are doomed to follow these tracks, and now I'll pass it on to Blake to help you educate more about our physical and mental health.
Thank you, Tajay, for giving us some of that information and about the education and the research behind Half Conway. So for my stakeholder, I did the mental and physical health of people. And why would that be important? Well, there's quite a bit of reasons why, but here are some questions that people ask that they would like to know. So why did I choose the ecosystem service, which is the mental and physical health? And why is it important to consider this ecosystem service when developing a Half Conway plan? Well, the reason I chose this service is because when people mentally and physically healthy, they're just more happier overall. It's important to consider the mental and physical health of people, because if no one's happy, then it's just a miserable place to be. It's a miserable day, it's a miserable life. So why not just be happy? Also, if we have the good mental and physical health, it's a way better environment. Everyone enjoys their day more. And one thing I would like to point out about it being important is I think this could involve eventually the rest of the state of Arkansas, but there's a study done that there's 2 patients in the hospital, separate rooms, separate sicknesses. One had a plant in their room, and the person who had the plant in the room was able to recover way faster than the other one. So I feel like if we were able to get a Half Conway where even just part of it's green, we could avoid the situations of people getting sick as often. Because if we have more green, everyone will be healthier from it. Another question someone asked, what are the benefits provided by this ecosystem service? And who benefits from it? Everyone benefits from the service, not just one person, but the whole city of Conway. Because it's just, like I said, the more green, the better people would feel and just the happier it would be. I think of it as like, it would be a positive touch for everyone. Once the locals see the difference it makes in the city of Conway, then it'll spread regional, then it'll go to state, then it'll go national, and that's how I feel like the stepping stones will have to be, because no one's going to believe it worldwide at first. But if we get where we can start from the state, and then we build on to different states, and then we eventually get the whole United States, I feel like we can make an impact that way. If we can protect half of Conway and people around see the growth in the mental and physical health of Conway, then eventually I know for a fact it'll spread. And then another question some would feel concerned about is, what are the costs that Half Conway would bring to you? What would you like to see in the proposal to minimize your costs? The downside of it, we would have to take some people's lands, but we've talked about it as a group, and I feel like we could get together and we could make easements to the people of land we take, or like Tajay and John talks about, having the Half Conway Day where we have a marathon, we'll have bounce arounds, we'll have all this different stuff going on. And so whatever money we make, we could give some back to the people's land we took. And then honestly, another thing that could relate back to our Half Conway Day, like everyone knows the feeling after a marathon, you're tired, you're wore out after you run it. But then the after effects of it are great. You feel great. You just accomplished something big. You ran a 5K or however long it's going to be. And I feel like that can relate back to our Half Conway Day, or just Half Conway in general. Because at first you're going to be, I don't know about it. I don't think it will work. But then when you see the results of it, you're going to be like, yeah, this works real well. It's great. And then hopefully we can eventually get that spread worldwide. Now you know a little bit about the mental and physical health side of the Half Conway, and we really hope you'll push for it. Thank you, and here goes Josh, and he's going to give you some of the recreational side to it. Thank you.
So how do you foresee that your own business is going to be able to partner with Half Conway? Like, what plans do you have for it?
Well, I see that we could use our industry as a way to like spread awareness to the community and to other people by putting slogans or sayings on our coffee cups or our mugs and stuff, saying like giving awareness to the corridor. Also, we know that all our customers know that by tourism and more revenue we're bringing in, it's going to cause inflation in our store, which we think would be a great way of, another way awareness tool. We could just say that a certain percentage, maybe 4 to 5% of everything, money goes towards the corridor effect and maintaining it, and which in a way is just like a cycle which can help the community. We can help spread awareness and also help gain more money to use toward the corridor.
Thank you. So what are some of the recreations that you were talking about? Like, what is that going to look like?
Well, some of the recreations that we've been thinking about, and fishing, biking events, maybe horseback riding and trail riding. We've been thinking of maybe making areas in our corridor that we can use for like paintballing events, and for the nature lovers, we can have like camping sites put out.
So what do you think is going to be the hardest part of setting up the recreation part of this project?
Well, I wouldn't say, well, the hardest part would be just prepping the sites and setting out parts of the sites dedicated to these projects. But we do have to take in perspective that this isn't all going to happen at one time. Like, we're going to start off with maybe fishing, and as that grows, we're going to use money put aside and start growing the other recreational events.
All right, thank you.
Recreations are a great way at getting people to come outside and be involved in their community, while also could be another tool for us to spread the awareness of the birds and informing the community of the corridor. And also getting people to come outside can refer back to what Blake was saying as a way to make people happier and overall have a better community.
So how do you think that small business owners are going to be affected by Half Conway?
Well, I think this actually could be very beneficial if we use it right. I think that the Half Conway Day and the big recreational events we could use as a way to target tourism and bring in more customers and more revenue to our companies.